You already know what you need to do. That is the frustrating part. It is not that you lack the information. It is not that nobody has ever told you what steps to take. You know, you have known for a while, and yet here you are still not doing it. Still researching, still planning, still telling yourself that you will start when the timing is better or when you feel more ready or when things calm down a little, but things never fully calm down. And ready never quite arrives. And the gap between knowing and doing just keeps getting wider. This video is about that gap, what it is, why it exists, and most importantly, how to close it. Because the problem is not that you are lazy or unmotivated or incapable. The problem is something much more specific than that. And once you understand what is actually happening, you will have something far more useful than motivation. You will have a system for turning what you know into what you actually do. Let us start with why this happens. The first thing to understand is that knowing feels like progress. This is one of the most important and least talked about reasons people stay stuck. When you research something, when you plan it out, when you think it through carefully, your brain registers that as productive activity. Dopamine gets released. You feel like you are moving forward, but you are not moving forward. You are simulating movement. And the more intelligent you are, the better you are at simulating it. You can spend hours reading, planning, organizing, and preparing, and walk away feeling like you accomplished something when in reality the thing you set out to do still has not been touched. This is not a character flaw, it is a feature of how the brain processes information. The problem is that it creates a loop. Research feels good, planning feels safe, and the actual doing, which is uncertain and uncomfortable and full of potential failure, gets quietly pushed to later. The second reason is that intelligent people over-prepare, and they do it for a legitimate reason. When you are capable of thinking several steps ahead, you can see the complexity of things. You can anticipate problems before they arise. You can identify what could go wrong and what you would need to account for. That is a genuine strength, but it becomes a trap when it is applied to starting, because starting does not require you to have solved every future problem. It requires you to take one step. And the same mind that is excellent at seeing complexity can convince itself that one step is not worth taking until the full picture is clear. The third reason is fear of imperfect execution. You know enough about the thing you want to do to have standards for it. You can see what good looks like, and because you can see it, the idea of doing it badly feels worse than not doing it at all. So you wait. You wait until you can do it well, until you have the right setup, the right skills, the right amount of confidence, and in the meantime, nothing gets done. The standard you set for starting is the same standard you would hold a finished product to, and that is an impossible bar. The fourth reason is what you could call the comfort of potential. This one is subtle but powerful. As long as you have not tried something seriously, the possibility that you could succeed at it is still alive. The idea of the business, the creative project, the habit, the relationship change, it exists in your mind as something that could go really well. The moment you start and struggle, that possibility gets tested. And some part of your brain knows that. So it protects the potential by avoiding the attempt. Staying in the planning phase means you never have to find out whether you could actually do it. And that feels safer than finding out that you could not. The fifth reason is analysis paralysis. More information does not always lead to better decisions. Often it leads to more uncertainty. Every new piece of information introduces a new variable, a new consideration, a new reason to pause and think. And for people who take information seriously, which is most people watching this, that cycle can continue indefinitely. You are not stuck because you do not know enough. You are stuck because you keep adding to what you think you need to know before you can begin. The sixth reason is the emotional cost of carrying what you know. This one does not get talked about enough. When you know what you need to do and you are not doing it, that awareness sits with you. It does not disappear between the moments you actively think about it. It is there in the background, a low-level weight that follows you through your days. Over time, this creates a kind of quiet exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much you are physically doing. It comes from the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. And that gap, left unaddressed, will drain you far more than the actual work ever would. Now, let us talk about what to do. The first shift is to treat knowing and doing as completely separate skills. Most people assume that if they know something well enough, the doing will follow naturally. But knowing and doing use different mental processes. Knowing is about understanding. Doing is about tolerance for discomfort, imperfection, and uncertainty. You can be exceptional at one and terrible at the other. The sooner you accept that doing is its own skill that has to be developed independently of knowing, the sooner you stop waiting for knowledge to turn into action on its own. It will not. You have to practice starting the same way you would practice anything else. The second shift is to kill the preparation loop. Give yourself a hard limit on how long you are allowed to plan before you must execute. Not a soft limit, a real one. If you are preparing for something, you get a fixed amount of time to research and organize. When that time is up, you move. Not when you feel ready, not when you have covered everything, when the time is up. This works because it removes the open-ended permission to keep preparing indefinitely. Preparation without a deadline is just delay with better branding. Put a deadline on your research phase and honor it like an external commitment. The third shift is to make the cost of inaction visible. Right now, your brain is very good at calculating the risk of acting. What if it does not work? What if you fail? What if it is harder than you expected? But it is very bad at calculating the cost of not acting. The months that pass, the version of yourself that does not develop, the opportunities that close, the weight of still carrying what you know but are not doing a year from now. Sit with that honestly. What does it actually cost you to stay where you are? Not in a vague way, in a specific, concrete, personal way. Most people avoid this calculation because it is uncomfortable, but it is the most clarifying thing you can do. When the cost of staying still becomes more real than the risk of moving, the equation changes. The fourth shift is to lower the quality bar for your first move. Whatever you are putting off, there is a version of it you could do today that is not perfect, not complete, not impressive, but real. And that imperfect version is infinitely more valuable than the perfect version you keep planning. The first draft does not need to be good. The first workout does not need to be intense. The first conversation does not need to go perfectly. The first version of anything is not supposed to be the final version. It is supposed to exist. That is its only job. Once it exists, you can improve it. Until it exists, you have nothing to work with. Lower the bar for starting to a point that feels almost too easy, then start there. The fifth shift is to separate the decision from the execution. One of the hidden reasons people fail to act is that they redecide every single day. Should I do this today? Is now the right time? Do I really want this? Am I sure? Every day that you have to make the decision again is another day that the decision might not go in your favor. Make the decision once, commit to it seriously, and then remove it from the list of things you debate. Execution becomes significantly easier when it is not also a daily negotiation with yourself. The decision is made. The only remaining question is how, not whether. The sixth shift is to use implementation intentions. This is one of the most well-supported findings in behavioral psychology and one of the most underused. An implementation intention is a simple when-then plan. When this specific situation occurs, I will do this specific thing. Not I will work on this project when I have time. But when I sit down at my desk after lunch, I will open the file and write for 20 minutes. The specificity is the point. Vague intentions rely on motivation to activate them. Specific when-then plans activate automatically because you have already made the mental link between the situation and the behavior. You are not deciding in the moment. You are executing a plan that was already made. The seventh shift is to address the fear directly. Most of the time, the thing keeping you from acting is not really a logistical problem. It is a fear of failing, fear of being seen trying and falling short, fear of finding out that you are not as capable as you hoped, fear of what changes if you actually succeed. These fears are real and they deserve to be taken seriously, but they rarely get examined. They just operate in the background as a general resistance to starting. Name the fear specifically. Write it down if you have to. Then ask yourself honestly whether it is as likely as it feels and whether you could handle it if it came true. Most fears do not survive direct examination. They are powerful in the dark and much smaller in the light. You do not have an information problem, you have a starting problem. And that is actually good news because starting is a skill. It can be practiced, it can be strengthened. Every time you act before you feel ready, you build evidence that you are someone who moves. Every time you lower the bar and show up anyway, you close the gap between knowing and doing just a little more. And over time, that gap, which right now might feel enormous, becomes something you cross without thinking. The version of you that acts on what they know is not a different person. It is you with a different relationship to the discomfort of starting. That relationship can change. It changes the same way everything else does. One move at a time before you feel completely ready in the direction of what you already know you need to do. You know what that is. You have always known. Start there.